Hello friends. Today we are going to discuss about World Earth Day, which is celebrated on 22nd April every year. I am Dr. Suresh Badadmat, Professor of Psychiatry, working at National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, Bangalore. In this video, I'll be discussing about World Earth Day, why it is celebrated every year, and why it is celebrated on April 22nd, and what are the impact and why we have to celebrate. World Earth Day is celebrated to raise awareness about environmental issues and also to promote protection and maintaining healthy environment. As per the available literature, it says Senator Gaylord Nelson from US started this World Earth Day, which he coined this because there was an oil spill in his jurisdiction. This occurred in 1970. Hence, on April 22nd, for the first time, World Earth Day was celebrated in US. And invariably, at this point of time, there is a huge battle going between planet and plastics. Invariably, the plastic is slowly taking over our planet. That means our Mother Earth may not be there. She will be completely covered by plastics and the whole planet will be destroyed. Hence, today I am going to discuss about the role of plastics and how and why we should start decreasing the consumption of plastics. If you look at our earth, as per our Indian mythology, the earth is considered as Bhudevi, Bhumi Devi, and many times it is also called as Vasundhara. It is invariably the earth is considered as a goddess. As per Hindu tradition and mythology, every Hindu celebrates and worships Mother Earth. And she's considered as the person who is a mother who will nourish every citizen on this planet. Hence, the planet Earth is considered as a mother as per Hindus' tradition and religion. If you look into various mythological texts, such as Padma Purana, the episode of Devas seeking assistance of Lord Vishnu Varaha to rescue Bhudevi. Bhudevi is an earth planet. Similarly, if we look at Ramayana, the Lord Sita, the wife of Rama, emerged from the earth. Thus, Bhumi is considered as a spiritual. That means earth is spiritual since many, many centuries. Bhumi Devi is worshipped by farmers. As every farmer believes, she blesses the land, which is fertile, which will nourish every human being on this earth. That means for Indians, Mother Earth is a god, and we have been celebrating the earth since many years. But however, somewhere we have lost the track. The track needs to be brought back. Invariably, goddesses Bhumi Devi is revered as a deity in Indian culture, representing the earth's abundance of fertility and importance of living in harmony with Mother Nature. Hence, my dear friends, the World Earth Day, although is celebrated because of US, invariably in our tradition, in our Hindu culture, it is there since antiquity. At this point of time, I'll be discussing why should we decrease the plastic use, that is plastic versus our planet. From the healthcare industry perspective, that means how plastics are playing a role in healthcare industry. The healthcare industry relies heavily on the plastics. for various purposes. It can be packaging, it can be various materials which will be used in the treatment purpose, and also for the purpose of sterility, convenience, use and throw mechanism. But these plastics which are used in the health industry can be dangerous to the environment and also for our health. This causes pollution, difficulty in waste management from the health perspective, and also these plastics can become a hazardous to the human being because of the chemicals inside. If we look at the healthcare industry, 25% of the hospital waste on every day is plastic. Imagine if there is 100 kg of waste is collected from an hospital, 25% is plastics, my dear friends. If you look at the plastics which are used in the hospital, it can be medical purpose and also for non-medical purpose. It can be consumable and non-consumable. It starts from waste bags, cleaning liquids, shampoo, single-use cutlery, cups, bottles, gloves, face mask, single-use textile, catheter, blood bags, syringes, needles, and adult diapers. Similarly, furnitures, flooring, computers, large and small electrical devices, diagnostic machines, patient beds, furniture, positioning aid, such as innumerable plastics are used in healthcare industry. And it starts from single use to the multiple use of plastics. It can be used either in the operation theater, it can be used in the ICU, emergency, sterilization, packaging, and all these waste materials becomes a big challenge to the environment. Invariably, the plastic has become useful at this point of time. It has become a menace. Hence, we need to be very conservative in using plastics and we need to think of reducing it and recycle the use of plastics. As per the studies available, for every patient, 619 grams of plastics are disposed every day. That means the plastics for every patient is almost more than half a kg of patients' plastics per day is thrown out, and of which 86% is polymer. This polymer is very difficult to degrade. It requires millions of years to get degraded. Further, plastic packaging contributes an additional 16 gram per patient per day. So the plastic consumable accounts for 25% of the hospital waste which is thrown out. That means, my dear friends, the healthcare industry is also consuming plastics and also adding plastics to the environmental menace. As per the NCBI published studies on microplastics and nanoplastic contamination, the number of studies are increasing. Earlier, the impact of plastics were seen only on animals, sea animals, and also various other bacteria, turtles. But now, the studies on the impact of plastics on human being are increasing phenomenally. Now let's understand what is plastics. Plastic is a man-made material created from diverse organic polymers subjected to various chemical and physical transformation. Key processes include polymerization and polycondensation, which converts essential elements into intricate, intricate polymer chains. That means these are very difficult to be digested or else degraded in the environment. At present, plastic is used everywhere from household to the hospital. We all know the impact of plastics on the environment. These are chemicals which can be phthalates, bisphenol, and styrene, which causes environmental pollution and also occupational hazard. But however, the recent literature is talking about microplastics, nanoplastics, and ion plastic particles. Let's discuss about the deadly plastics, that is, nanoplastics, microplastics, and also mesoplastics. How they can cause hazard to our health. First of all, let's define each one of this. Nanoplastics are those which are less than 1 micromillimeter, my dear friends. If it is more than 1 micrometer and less than 5 millimeter, it is considered as microplastics, my dear friends. Anything between 5 millimeter to 2.5 centimeter, it is considered as mesoplastics. Anything between 2.5 centimeter but less than 1 meter, it is considered as macro. Anything more than 1 meter is considered as megaplastic, my dear friends. However, at this point of time, we are more worried about nanoplastics, which is less than 1 micrometer, my dear friends. These are the one which can be hazardous in the long run. Let's understand about nanoplastics, my dear friends. These micro and nanoplastics are widely studied in the context of marine environment, that is in fish, crustacean, and various other sea animals. Recently, the studies have now focused on human beings. That means whether these microplastics and nanoplastics are seen in human beings or not. Further, there are studies which clearly says these nanoplastics are also seen in pregnant women, in placenta, and also in the neonates. That means these nanoplastics have become ubiquitous and pervading every human being. They are not only seen in seafood, but also in human beings. Let's understand the source of plastics. At this point of time, the microplastics and nanoplastics, these either can be a primary source or it can be fragmented from the macro or mesoplastics. It can be seen in various food. It can be honey, it can be in beer, it can be in salt, sugar, fish, shrimps, seafood, and bivalves. That means these are there wherever there is a packaging industry, or else these food are processed in a plastic environment. Further, these packed food, it may be drinks, water, milk products, it is seen. Further, in air pollutions, if the plastic is burned, the microplastics and nanoplastics are known to be generated. If you look at this diagram, you can see the various forms of plastics which are enters into the body, either from the sugar, beverage, bottled water, honey, table salt, and even from the surface water. Not only that, these plastics which are used, especially washing machine, where we are using various cloths mixed with plastics, and these can generate nanoplastics and microplastics, which will enter into the water bodies. And from there, it enters into the various sea animals, fish, maybe even shark, seabirds, and also various fresh organisms in the seawater also be the source of nanoparticles which the human being consumes. Above all that, many industries, effluents which are coming into the water bodies, many a time they may not be able to separate these nanoplastics and microplastics, and they directly enter into the water bodies. Hence, my dear friends, we are having these nanoplastics and microplastics in everywhere across the world, across the globe, and in every food they are present. That means, my dear friends, we need to be very careful. If you look at the sources of plastics, it can be a primary source, that primary source from the industry where they degrade the plastics and these nanoparticles or nanoplastics are formed. It can be secondary where the human who consumes various food, those packaging industry where these nanoplastics and microplastics enter into the food. And from there, when we consume this food, these nanoplastics are consumed. Many a time, the degradation of these plastics, they can also enter into the various food and also animals. From there, the man can consume them. Hence, my dear friends, the nanoplastics can be a primary source from the industry or it can be a secondary source. Invariably, if you look at the formation of nanoplastics, either the microplastics are degraded through extracellular enzyme and the nanoplastics are formed, or else by the formation of non-biodegradable, that is, through thermal degradation, physical degradation, photo or thermo-oxidation, hydrolysis. That means the meso and microplastics can become nanoplastics either by extracellular enzyme or else by various physical non-biodegradation can occur. My dear friends, that means nanoparticles, which in the form of plastics are present even in our blood. Now let's understand the intake of micro and nanoplastics. These either can from the ingestion of various foods such as fish, fruits, vegetables, milk, which are processed and packed in the plastics. And when these foods are heated in the plastics, then thermal degradation occurs. From there, the nanoplastics can enter into the gut, from their gut to the blood vessels. Many a time, thermal degradation in the environment can cause nanoplastics which are inhaled, and from there, through the lungs and alveoli, it can enter into the blood. Further, the skin contact of use of plastics, from there, the nanoparticles, plastics can enter into the skin if there are abrasions. Many a time we wear various clothes, and those along with the abrasions can enter into the skin, from their skin to the blood vessels. Now let's look into the impact of these plastics on various organs. This diagram clearly indicates these nanoplastics and microplastics can have a direct injury on the kidneys, and also it can cause injury to the various parts of the liver, to the enzymes, various cellular mechanisms. Since these are nanoplastics, it enters into the cell very easily. And even the microplastics and nanoplastics are also seen in nervous system of various sea animals. And it is not far. These nanoplastic are also have been found to be in the newborn. Further, it can enter and cause injury to the gut, that is, small intestine and large intestine. It is also seen in lungs, and you can see these microplastics and nanoplastics is seen across the food chain. It may be animal, it may be birds, it may be fish, and various other organism. What happens if these nanoplastics and microplastics at the cellular level? Usually, these plastic particles can enter into the body, from there to the cells. It enters the cell either through phagocytosis or macropinocytosis, or else clathrin mediated endocytosis, also caveolo mediated endocytosis. From there, once they enter into the cell, then it can cause various issues within the cell. If you look at the endocytic pathway, plastic particles enter the cell via the intracellular endocytic pathway, engaging with early and late endosomes before combining with lysosomes. Hence, once they enter the cell, it can cause inflammation, it can cause oxidative stress and apoptosis, and it can cause metabolic problems, and homeostasis of the metabolism can be altered. That means through cellular metabolism, my dear friends. If you look at the manifestation of micro and nanoplastics on the human body, here the plastics either as a form of epoxy resin or else PVS polymer. If you look at the epoxy resins, it is bisphenol A can cause obesity, cardiovascular disorders, hormonal disruption, and damage to the fetal development. If you look at the PVS polymer, that is phthalates and esters, it can cause abnormal sexual development and birth defect, and invariably they are considered as carcinogens. If you look at the phthalates, it is seen either in the personal care, it can be either in the form of lipsticks, cosmetics, daily usage, food, it can be in the toys, even in children. This causes overweight and also endocrine disruption, genitalia development, precocious puberty, and thyroid dysfunction, both in adult and children. If you look at the impact of plastics on children, especially with regard to endocrine, you can see nowadays children having weight gain, type 2 diabetes, thyroid functioning and dysfunction, higher systolic blood pressure, anogenital distances, precocious puberty, and also various other pregnancy related outcomes, and allergy, asthma, neurodevelopmental disorders, and autoimmune disorders are picking up in human beings. If you look at the endocytic pathway, at this point of time, it is an enigma. It is important to understand whether these microplastics and nanoplastics can be further degraded once they are ingested in the cell. How does it act? Whether it causes acidic condition or alkaline condition, and how it interacts within the cell. Hence, we do not know the long term impact of these nanoplastics and microplastics on human cells at this point of time. Hence, we should be very careful and we need to study in the long run how these nanoplastics and microplastics will have impact on human beings. To conclude, my dear friends, nanoplastics are present everywhere, including in our blood. It can cause a serious health hazard. Already, it is causing various autoimmune disorder because of their very small size as a nanoparticle. And since it is very difficult to be degraded, their presence, persistence, and they can alter the human system of the human being. And these can cause various autoimmune function, dysfunction, and also endocrinal disturbance. It either can be ingested through the mouth or by skin or by inhalation. We need to know the long term effect of these nanoplastics and microplastics. That means plastic is not only environmental hazard, but also it is entering to our body at this point of time. We do not know what is the impact of these nanoplastics to our cells. That means it is the time which is going to dictate how these nanoplastics will play a role at every cell level, my dear friends. And whatever the evidence we have, it clearly indicates because of our lifestyles, presence of plastics everywhere, metabolic disorder, neurotoxicity, genotoxicity, cytotoxicity, and also autoimmune disorders are increasing. Whether these can cause DNA damage, oxidative stress, whether they have a direct impact on increasing the cancers, or else are they carcinogenic? How do they impact with other environmental factors? And how the human will be impacted? At this point of time, the evidences are very clear. Plastics can trigger chronic inflammation, autoimmune dysfunction. We need to make attempts to decrease the plastic usage. At this point of time, it is very difficult to stop the plastic completely. The reason being, the plastic is used in every step of our life. We need to make attempt to decrease the use of plastic, invest in non-plastic material, and make sure our Mother Earth is protected, cherished for our future generation. Thank you very much for giving your valuable time. The time is now. We need to know whether we need to save the planet or else continue to use plastic and destroy our planet.